I want to tell you about a kind of poison, a poison so subtle, so pervasive, that you've been drinking it your entire life without knowing it. This poison doesn't attack your body, it attacks your potential. It's the voice that tells you to keep your head down, to not make waves, to be nice above all else. The paradox is this: everything you've been taught makes you a good person: humility, obedience, compassion without limits. These are the very chains designed to keep you weak, manageable, and forever wondering why life feels like you're swimming upstream. Have you ever noticed that the world doesn't seem to reward the nice guys, that the people who get ahead often seem to operate by a different set of rules? You've felt this, haven't you? That feeling of following all the rules, of being considerate and fair, only to watch someone more ruthless, more unapologetic, take exactly what they want while you stand there, politely waiting your turn. That frustration gnawing at you isn't weakness. It's your instinct telling you something is deeply wrong with the game you've been taught to play. This isn't a coincidence. It's a system, a psychological operating system running in the background of society, and it's designed to do one thing: suppress your power. What I'm about to share is considered dangerous by some because it exposes this system. It reveals why you feel stuck, why you hesitate, and why your potential remains locked away behind a cage of shoulds and shouldn'ts. Most people will live their entire lives without realizing they're in this cage. They'll blame themselves for their frustration, their lack of progress, never understanding that the cage was built long before they were born. But you're about to see the bars. Over 140 years ago, a brilliant and reclusive philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, stared into the abyss of human nature and saw this poison for what it was. He spent decades dissecting it, tracing its origins, and forging an antidote. While others philosophized from comfort, Nietzsche suffered chronic illness, isolation, rejection. Yet from this suffering came insights so sharp they cut through millennia of accumulated lies. He realized that our entire moral framework was a sophisticated trap. He called it slave morality, and once he named it, he couldn't unsee it anywhere. It was in the churches, in the schools, in the very fabric of European civilization. Let me tell you what I mean. By the end of this video, you won't just understand Nietzsche's philosophy, you will see its code running in every interaction you have. I'm going to give you the 8 ruthless lessons he uncovered, lessons that transform how you see power, morality, and your own potential. And be warned, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Your relationships will look different. Your ambitions will clarify. Your frustrations will finally make sense. But here's what nobody tells you about Nietzsche. This isn't about becoming a monster. It's about becoming yourself, finally. It's about recognizing the difference between the morality imposed upon you and the values you choose for yourself. Imagine this. It's the late 1870s. Friedrich Nietzsche, a man plagued by ill health, but gifted with a terrifyingly sharp intellect, is walking through the streets of a European city. His body is weak, migraines torture him, his stomach rebels against most foods, his eyes strain in the light, but his mind burns with clarity. He observes the pious, the humble, the churchgoers who praise meekness and self-sacrifice. Where others see virtue, he sees something else entirely. He saw their downcast eyes, their quiet deference, and he felt a profound sense of unease. In their shuffling gaits and mumbled prayers, he didn't see strength choosing humility. He saw weakness wearing the mask of virtue. He noticed how they spoke of the wealthy with barely concealed venom, how they promised that the meek shall inherit the earth with a gleam of revenge in their eyes. He realized this wasn't strength, but a clever strategy of the weak to control the strong. It was brilliant in its deception. If you cannot defeat the powerful through strength, convince them that their power itself is evil. He gave this phenomenon a name, *** slave morality ***. It was the morality of the herd, designed to pull everyone down to the same level, to shear the talons of the eagles and teach them to flock with the sheep. This morality didn't emerge from strength or wisdom, it emerged from resentment, from the burning need of the powerless to make the powerful feel guilty for their gifts. It transformed virtues into vices and vices into virtues, all to level the playing field by bringing everyone down rather than lifting anyone up. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Nietzsche wasn't an evil man. He wasn't advocating for cruelty. He was a doctor of culture, and he had just diagnosed a sickness that had infected Western civilization for 2,000 years. He saw how this moral system had spread like a virus, passed from generation to generation until people couldn't even imagine an alternative. They had internalized their chains so completely that they would defend them, even attack anyone who suggested they could be free. This wasn't philosophy for him. It was a rescue mission for the human spirit. This same pattern, this same slave morality exists today, but it wears different clothes. It's no longer just in the church. It's in the office, on social media, even in our own families. The words have changed, but the underlying structure remains. Those who excel must be brought down. Those who shine must be dimmed. Those who dare must be shamed back into line. We call it different things. Tall poppy syndrome, crabs in a bucket, checking your privilege, but it's the same ancient pattern Nietzsche identified. We've been taught to be team players, which often means suppressing our best ideas to avoid rocking the boat. We're told to be humble, which often means shrinking ourselves so others don't feel insecure. Society operates on an unspoken agreement. Don't shine too brightly, don't climb too high, don't want too much. We celebrate the entrepreneur who gives back, but are suspicious of the one who simply builds and grows. We applaud the artist who struggles, but question the one who succeeds. We've created a culture where apologizing for success is mandatory, where ambition must always be tempered with false modesty. You see, it's like we're all swimming in water so pervasive we don't even know we're wet. This water is the assumption that weakness is morally superior to strength, that suffering is more virtuous than joy, that bringing yourself down is more noble than building yourself up. We've absorbed these ideas so completely that they feel like natural law, like gravity. But they're not natural, they're constructed, and they serve a very specific purpose: to keep potential threats to the established order from ever realizing their power. But what if I told you that this entire framework is a lie? What if I told you that your envy, your ambition, your pride, the very things you've been taught to be ashamed of, are actually vital signs of your life force, your will to power? Nietzsche believed that everything you've been taught about good and evil is not just wrong, it's backwards. The very emotions and drives you've been taught to suppress are the ones that could liberate you if only you understood how to channel them. The guilt you feel for wanting more, the shame around your competitive instincts, the way you apologize for your strengths, these are not signs of virtue. They're symptoms of a 2,000-year-old psychological operation designed to keep the strong from realizing their strength. The first ruthless lesson Nietzsche teaches is this: ****, you must reject slave morality and create your own values. ***. He discovered that there are two fundamental types of morality on earth: master morality and slave morality. You are living in one, but you were born for the other. This isn't about social class or wealth. It's about the fundamental orientation of your spirit. Are you creating values or merely reacting to them? You see, master morality is like a lion. The lion decides for itself what is good. Good is its own strength, its pride, its ability to hunt and command its territory. Bad is simply what lacks these qualities: weakness, fear, and subservience. The lion doesn't ask the sheep for permission to be a lion. It doesn't apologize for its roar or feel guilty for its hunt. It simply is what it is, fully and unapologetically. But slave morality is the sheep's invention. The sheep, unable to defeat the lion through strength, uses cleverness. It declares the lion's strengths, its pride, its power, its aggression to be evil, and it elevates its own qualities: humility, pity, obedience to the level of goodness. It's a psychological coup d'etat. The sheep doesn't become strong. Instead, it redefines strength as evil. It doesn't develop courage. It redefines courage as recklessness. This is not evolution. It's a magic trick, a sleight of hand that transforms weakness into virtue through the alchemy of resentment. The genius of slave morality is that it doesn't just restrain the strong, it makes them restrain themselves. It plants a voice inside their heads that whispers, "Who do you think you are?" Every time they reach for greatness, it makes them feel guilty for their gifts, ashamed of their advantages, apologetic for their ambitions. The slave morality doesn't need external enforcement once it's internalized. The lions begin to act like sheep, not because they've lost their strength, but because they've been convinced that using it is immoral. Nietzsche observed this in the Roman Empire. The Roman nobles operated on master morality. They valued honor, courage, and power. Good was what was noble, strong, and life-affirming. But the oppressed classes, and later the early Christians, performed what he called a transvaluation of values. They took the noble Roman virtues and demonized them. Pride became the deadliest sin. Wealth became spiritually corrosive. Power became corruption. The proud became sinful. The wealthy became evil. The meek, they promised, would inherit the earth. It was, in his words, a brilliant act of spiritual revenge. Unable to defeat Rome through military might, they defeated it through moral revolution. They didn't storm the gates, they changed the definitions. They transformed strength into sin and weakness into sanctity. Within a few centuries, the mighty Roman Empire, which had conquered the known world through force, conquered itself through guilt. The emperors themselves converted, trading their master morality for the slave morality of those they had once ruled. This shows up in your life every day. It's the crabs in a bucket mentality at your job. It's the relative who criticizes your ambition because it makes them feel insecure. It's the voice in your own head that tells you you don't deserve success. If you've ever felt guilty for wanting more out of life, you have been infected by slave morality. If you've ever dimmed your light to make others comfortable, you've submitted to its logic. But simply recognizing the cage isn't enough to get free. The cage is electrified by one of the most powerful forces in human existence, suffering. And what you do with your suffering determines whether you stay a slave or become a master. That's not the most profound part. The second ruthless lesson shows you how to turn the poison into the cure. Now, you might be thinking this is a recipe for becoming a heartless egoist. But Nietzsche's second ruthless lesson is the exact opposite. It's this. Asterisk, asterisk. You must transform your suffering into strength. Asterisk, asterisk. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Metabolize it. This is where his philosophy becomes not just intellectual but visceral, not just theory but practice. Nietzsche famously wrote, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." But this isn't a simple platitude you'd find on a gym wall. It's a formula for spiritual alchemy. Think of a blacksmith forging a sword. The steel is subjected to incredible stress, hammered, heated, plunged into water. A naive observer might think the blacksmith is destroying the metal. But each blow, each exposure to extreme temperature, is transforming soft iron into hardened steel. It is this very suffering that makes it hard, sharp, and resilient. Your character is the same. The herd seeks comfort and the absence of pain. They want cushions and safety nets, guarantees and insurance policies against life's sharp edges. The master seeks challenges that will forge them into something more. They understand that comfort is not the goal growth is. Evolution doesn't happen in paradise. It happens in response to pressure. Your heartbreaks, your failures, your deepest pains, these are not liabilities to be hidden or healed away. They are the cracks where the light gets in, carving out the depth required for true wisdom. Consider this. Every strength you possess was born from struggle. If you're mentally tough, it's because you've survived mental trials. If you're emotionally resilient, it's because you've been emotionally tested. The slave morality teaches you to see your wounds as weaknesses, as things that diminish you. Master morality sees them as the price of admission to a deeper understanding of life. They are your credentials, your proof that you have lived, not just existed. Here's what happens when you embrace this. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me? How can I use this?" You practice the third ruthless lesson. Asterisk, asterisk. Be radically honest, especially with yourself. Asterisk, asterisk. You look at your own resentment, your envy, your weakness, not with judgment, but with the cold, clear eye of a strategist. You see them as data points, telling you what you truly want and where you need to grow. That envy you feel towards someone successful, that's not a character flaw. It's your will to power showing you what it wants. That resentment toward authority, that's not immaturity. It's your spirit rejecting external limitations. These negative emotions are not sins to be confessed, but signals to be decoded. The danger is this. If you don't consciously use your suffering as fuel for growth, it will curdle into resentment. Resentment is the engine of slave morality. It's the silent poison of the person who wants to act but doesn't, who wants to create but only criticizes. It turns you into a bitter spectator of life rather than a player on the field. You become one of those people who can tell you everything wrong with the world, but has built nothing in it. The choice is always between becoming better or becoming bitter. There is no neutral ground. You're either using your pain to grow, or it's using you to shrink. Once you've changed your relationship with suffering, you're ready to wield the tools of power. Nietzsche identified 3 core disciplines that separate the individual from the herd. These are the active practices that make you dangerously smart. They're not theoretical concepts, but practical weapons against mediocrity. Let's break down these 3 ruthless lessons. Asterisk, asterisk. Number 1. Transcend the herd mentality. Asterisk, asterisk. This is lesson 4, and it's not just about disagreeing with people. It's about finding the courage to think for yourself, even if it means being misunderstood or alone. The herd offers warmth and safety, but the price is your individuality. You know you're caught in the herd when you find yourself adopting opinions wholesale from a group, whether it's a political party, a social movement, or even a charismatic influencer. The herd doesn't think, it reacts. It doesn't create, it conforms. A modern example is the social media mob, which demands absolute conformity to its current orthodoxy. One day you're virtuous, the next you're cancelled for a view that was acceptable yesterday. To transcend it means to cultivate intellectual solitude, to be able to stand apart and form your own judgment. This doesn't mean being contrarian for its own sake. That's just another form of herd behavior, always defining yourself in opposition. True independence means being able to agree or disagree based on your own analysis, not on what will gain you approval or avoid criticism. Asterisk, asterisk. Number 2. Embrace your will to power. Asterisk, asterisk. This is lesson 5, and it's Nietzsche's most misunderstood concept. The will to power isn't a desire for brutish domination over others. It is the fundamental creative life force that drives all things to grow, to expand, to overcome obstacles, and to express their highest potential. A plant pushing through concrete is exercising its will to power. An artist striving to create a masterpiece is exercising theirs. A person building a business, raising a family, or mastering a skill, all are expressions of this fundamental drive. It's your inner drive for self-overcoming, for becoming more than you currently are. You embrace it by unapologetically pursuing excellence and influence in your chosen domain, not for ego, but as the ultimate expression of your being. This means stopping the constant apologies for your ambition. It means pursuing mastery without feeling the need to pretend you don't want recognition. It means building something great without immediately rushing to minimize your achievement. The will to power is life itself saying yes to its own expansion. Asterisk, asterisk. Number 3. Practice strategic detachment and emotional mastery. Asterisk, asterisk. This is lesson 6. The person who cannot control their own emotions can be easily controlled by others. To be dangerously smart is to be unprovocable. It means creating a space between a stimulus and your response, a moment of choice where you decide rather than react. When someone insults you, The herd instinct is to react with anger or shame. The master observes the insult, understands the motive behind it, usually weakness or fear, and chooses a response that serves their purpose. This isn't emotionlessness, it's emotional mastery. It's the calm center of the hurricane. When others are swept away by every trend, every outrage, every social current, you remain centered in your own purpose. You can engage with emotions without being enslaved by them. You can feel anger without being controlled by it, experience fear without being paralyzed by it, know sadness without drowning in it. This gives you immense social and strategic power. While others are predictable in their reactions, you become inscrutable, responding based on what serves your goals, not what your emotions demand. When you understand all these together, when you can stand alone, channel your ambition constructively, and master your own reactions, you cease to be a pawn in other people's games. You become a player. This is what Nietzsche was pointing toward with his concept of the Übermensch times, or overman, not a tyrant ruling over others, but a self-created, self-possessed individual who has overcome the limitations of the herd. The overman doesn't need external validation because they have become their own source of values. They don't seek power over others because they have achieved power over themselves. But this isn't just about you. The seventh ruthless lesson is to face the harsh truths about power. Nietzsche saw that these dynamics of master and slave, individual and herd, are playing out all the time on the grand stage of history, politics, and culture. We are told narratives of fairness and justice, but underneath, the will to power is always at play. Every institution, every movement, every ideology is an expression of some group's will to power, dressed up in moral language to make it palatable. Understanding this allows you to see the world as it is, not as you're told it is. You start to decode the hidden power motives behind political movements that claim to be about justice, but are really about redistribution of power. You see through corporate slogans about making the world a better place to the profit motives underneath. You recognize how media narratives are crafted not to inform but to influence, not to educate but to direct behavior. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. Once you see the will to power operating everywhere, you can navigate the world with your eyes open, instead of stumbling through it believing everyone's stated intentions. This knowledge is considered dangerous precisely because it reveals the game behind the game. It shows you that most moral arguments are actually power struggles in disguise, that most calls for justice are really calls for a different distribution of power, that most accusations of evil are attempts to morally disarm an opponent. When you understand this, you become immune to moral manipulation. You can evaluate arguments based on their actual merit, not on how much guilt or shame they try to invoke. People will resist this truth in you and in themselves because it's terrifying. It pulls the rug out from under their sense of moral certainty. It forces them to take responsibility for their own lives instead of blaming external forces. It's much easier to be a good sheep than a lonely lion. The sheep gets to feel virtuous without doing anything difficult. The sheep gets to blame the lions for all the world's problems. The sheep gets the comfort of the flock and the warmth of shared delusions. So when you begin to operate from a place of self-defined values and personal power, expect friction. They will call you selfish, arrogant, or worse. It's not really an attack on you. It's a defense mechanism to protect their own comfortable worldview. Your very existence as someone who has rejected slave morality is a threat to those who depend on it. Your success without apology makes their excuses harder to maintain. Your strength without guilt makes their weakness harder to virtue signal. You become a walking reminder that another way is possible, and that terrifies those who have invested everything in the current system. But here is the final and perhaps most important ruthless lesson. Stay vigilant against your own hubris. The ultimate test of the master is not how they acquire power, but how they wield it. The path of self-overcoming is a razor's edge. Without constant self-awareness, the will to power can corrupt into simple tyranny. Without wisdom, strength becomes brutality. Without compassion, independence becomes isolation. True mastery is balancing force with wisdom, strength with flexibility, power with restraint. This is why the journey never ends. The moment you think you've arrived, you've already begun to fall. The overman is not a destination but a direction, not a being but a becoming. Each level of development brings new challenges, new temptations, new ways you can deceive yourself about your own motives. The slave tells lies to the world, the failed master tells lies to himself. When one person awakens to this path, they don't just liberate themselves, they create a new possibility for others. They become a light, demonstrating that there is another way to live beyond the grey conformity of the herd. Not through preaching or converting, but through the simple act of living authentically, of pursuing their own excellence without apology, of creating values rather than merely inheriting them. This is how culture evolves, not through mass movements but through individuals who dare to step outside the current paradigm and create something new. So, how do you walk this path without becoming a monster? How do you embrace power without losing your humanity? Here is a 7-step protocol for integrating this dangerous knowledge while maintaining your integrity. Step 1. Appoint yourself as the subject of your own study. Every day, observe your own reactions. When do you feel resentment? When do you feel envy? These emotions are not enemies, they're teachers. That flash of resentment when someone else succeeds, that's showing you where you've accepted limitations. That envy towards someone's freedom, that's revealing what you truly want. Don't judge these feelings, decode them. They're encrypted messages from your will to power. Step 2. Define your good. Take out a piece of paper and write down your highest values, independent of what anyone else thinks. Courage, creativity, integrity, excellence, adventure. This is your new moral compass. Not handed down from tradition, not absorbed from culture, but consciously chosen by you. These become your North Star, the standards by which you judge your own actions. When slave morality whispers, "Who do you think you are?" you'll have an answer. Step 3. Practice voluntary hardship. Do something difficult every day. A cold shower, a difficult conversation, a workout you want to skip. This isn't masochism. It's training. Each voluntary hardship is a small victory over your own inertia, a proof that you can choose discomfort in service of growth. This forges the muscle of self-overcoming. It teaches you that comfort is not your master, that you can endure discomfort without breaking, that you have more strength than your habits would suggest. Step 4. Seek out solitude. Spend time alone, without distractions, without the constant input of others' thoughts and opinions. This is where you disconnect from the herd's frequency and tune into your own. In solitude, you can hear your own thoughts without the static of social pressure. You can feel your own desires without the filter of what's acceptable. You can discover what you actually think, not what you've been programmed to think. Start with just 20 minutes a day of genuine solitude. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. Step 5. Turn consumption into creation. For everything you consume, a book, a video, an idea, ask, how can I use this to create something? Shift from passive receiver to active creator. The herd consumes endlessly, always taking in more content, more opinions, more distractions. The master takes what they need and transforms it into something new. Read, not just to be informed, but to be inspired to action. Watch, not just to be entertained, but to learn techniques you can apply. Every input should become an output. Every inspiration should become creation. Step 6. Identify the slave morality in your language. Notice when you use phrases like I should, I have to, or when you moralize your own weakness. I should be more humble often means I'm afraid to own my achievements. I have to help everyone often means I'm afraid to have boundaries. Replace them with I choose to or I will not. Language shapes thought, and thought shapes reality. When you change how you speak about your life, you change how you experience it. Step 7. Find your why. As Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Your why is the ultimate antidote to both nihilism and hubris. It's what keeps you going when the path gets difficult, what keeps you grounded when success comes. Your why should be bigger than just personal gain, but still deeply personal to you. It might be to create something beautiful, to push the boundaries of what's possible, to leave the world more interesting than you found it. Without a why, power becomes purposeless and freedom becomes frightening. You stand at a crossroads. Before you are two paths. The first path is wide, easy, and well-trodden. It is the path of the herd, paved with the comfort of conformity and the safety of external approval. You can choose to walk it, to accept the morality you've been given, and to live within the cage you now see. Many do, and there's no shame in that choice, only in pretending it isn't a choice. You can live a life of quiet desperation, of unfulfilled potential, of always wondering what if, but at least you'll fit in. At least you'll be good by standards you didn't create. Or you can choose the second path. It is narrow, steep, and lonely. It is the path of self-overcoming. As Nietzsche discovered, it is a path that requires you to be your own judge, your own jury, and your own lawgiver. There are no guarantees on this path, only the promise of becoming who you are. You'll face criticism from those who see your growth as an indictment of their stagnation. You'll face moments of doubt when the comfort of the herd seems preferable to the isolation of the heights. You'll face the constant temptation to trade your earned confidence for unearned approval. When you integrate this understanding, the world changes. You no longer see people as simply good or bad. You see the motives and drives beneath the surface. You listen to a politician and you hear the will to power beneath their words of public service. You observe a social movement and see how it channels resentment into moral superiority. You watch someone virtue signal and recognize the passive-aggressive power play underneath. But more importantly, you see these same dynamics in yourself, and that awareness gives you choice. You develop an inner authority that is not dependent on anyone else's validation. The approval of others becomes nice but not necessary. Criticism stings but doesn't devastate. You stop being afraid of your own ambition. Stop apologizing for your strengths. Stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. You realize that playing small doesn't serve anyone. It just perpetuates the slave morality that keeps everyone imprisoned. The journey is difficult, but the destination is freedom. The freedom to create your own meaning, to pursue your own excellence, to write your own values into the fabric of existence. Remember at the beginning when I told you about a kind of poison, the poison of a morality that teaches you to be small, that turns your strengths into sources of shame? You've now seen the antidote. That feeling of being held back, of being too nice for your own good, that wasn't a personal failing. It was the symptom of a system working exactly as designed, a 2,000-year-old program running in your psychological operating system, but you're not in the dark anymore. You've been given a torch and a map. The cage door is open. The question is, will you walk through it? You are not the same person who started watching this video. You have been exposed to a perspective that most people will go their entire lives without ever encountering. You are one of the few who can now see the matrix of slave morality running in the background of everyday life. You have moved from being a character in the story to a potential author of it. This knowledge carries responsibility, not to convert others, not to preach from mountaintops, but to live as an example of what's possible when someone refuses to accept inherited limitations. The question, then, is not whether you will use this knowledge. You can't help but use it now that you have it. The poison has been identified. You can't unknow what you now know. The only question is how. Nietzsche wrote that man is a rope, tied between beast and overman, a rope over an abyss. The journey is perilous. There's no safety net, no guarantee you won't fall. But there's also no ceiling, no limit to how far you can rise. Now that you see the rope before you, what will you do? Will you retreat back to the safety of the herd, pretending you never glimpsed the heights? Or will you take that first step onto the rope, knowing that each step forward is a step into who you were meant to be? The abyss is real, but so is the other side. And on that other side waits the person you could become, if you have the courage to cross.